much on schedule. We've got a panel on here afterwards, so it's
Okay.
that's the last session today.
What have we got, 40 minutes?
Yeah. Okay. Just set it up on the thing.
Yeah.
I'll throw things at you shortly after that.
Yeah, okay. That's it.
Okay, we're just about ready to get going again, guys. If you grab a seat. So the next session, we've got Nick Cree with us. So Nick's a WordPress developer from Queensland. Don't hold that against him necessarily. But he's come down here to have a chat to us this afternoon. He's going to be talking about growing customers and talking specifically about some tools that can sit on top of WordPress to help you gain customers and engagement. So give Nick a big round of applause and welcome him to Sydney. Thank you.
Fantastic. Alrighty, so yes, I'm Nick Cree. This is, in fact, the very first Wordcamp I ever attended was in this room here back in 2014. So I have been to a few and we'll probably go to a whole lot more. So I've been involved in WordPress since 2009. That was when I was introduced to it, and now run a WordPress web development business up on the Gold Coast, and have 7 staff working for us. So today's presentation is WordPress is my favourite CMS tool, funnily enough, and today's presentation is about how to generate your first 1,000 customers. It should have said your first 100, but we'll go for 1,000 anyway. So, and it's all using WordPress tools, plugins, and applications to be able to do it. And the first one that we're going to try is get the clicker working. So it is WordPress, and we'll do this manually. So we'll be talking about plugins, integrations, and strategies to attract clients. One of the things about running a business, so whether it's a WordPress business, a standard business, a bricks and mortars business, it all relies on clients and customers. And one of the common things that we've found with businesses is that business is lumpy, cash flow is lumpy, and that businesses are either chasing clients, so doing a whole lot of marketing to try and get clients in, and then they get a whole lot of work in, and and the cash flow goes up. Then they start delivering the work, and what drops off? Actually marketing and looking for new clients. So at some point there, as the work comes to completion again, then that curve comes down the other way. So well, we're running out of cash, we need some more clients, and the marketing cycle happens all over again. So some of the things I'll talk about today is how do we automate that process there so that our marketing happens all the time, regardless of whether we're delivering work or not. So it's just something that just consistently happens over time. So first thing is to understand what is the purpose of your website. So for most businesses, so if I was just to throw that out there, just give me some answers. What's the purpose of your website? Shopfront. A shopfront? Yep, okay.
To sell.
To sell, okay.
Lead generation.
Education, yep. What was that one?
Lead generation.
Lead generation.
Branding.
Branding, yeah. All right, it's sort of all those things. But really, for most businesses, it's only got one job. And if we understand what that objective is, it makes everything else so easy. And its one job is this: get an email address. That's it. That's it. So, and to give you an example, we're working with an e-commerce website, and they're about to spend 11 grand a month on AdWords and Facebook ads. And and they just asked us to have a look at the website to just to check it over before the campaign runs. And my comment to him was to say, you're not going to get any, you're going to get no conversions on this. So he said, well, what do you mean? We're spending 11 grand, we're going to get conversions. And I said, no, because your website's not set up to convert. He said, well, we've got an e-commerce website. We're going to sell stuff. So the thing with this e-commerce website, which is the same with a lot of e-commerce website, when you're selling ads to get people to the site, probably only about 3% of people are actually going to buy. So all the rest of them are in the stage where they're just researching, so they're not ready to buy yet, they're just looking at options. And if they do what a lot of people do is when they're searching for an item that they want to buy or they're looking for, they'll go to page 1 of Google search, they'll open up all the tabs there, all of the listings in different tabs, and they just flick through all the tabs there to see which one they like the best. So they get to your website, they get to it once, they've clicked on your ad, and they have a look, they're not ready to buy, they're just researching, and they'll come back another day to buy. What's the likelihood, do you think, they're going to come back to your website? Nil. Pretty much nil. Why? But one, because they found you on a Google ad, they may not ever see your ad again. Secondly, they haven't bookmarked your website. And then thirdly, once they've done all the research and they're ready to buy, they might be Googling another search term or a related search term, so they'll never be able to find you again. So even with an e-commerce website, if you think only 3% of people are actually ready to buy right now, what do you do with the other 97%? Get the email. Because once you've got the email, you can do a whole lot of things with that now. You can spam them. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could do that. But you can set up an email funnel where you start to deliver them good information on a regular basis. It's going to help them towards their buying decision. You can collect a whole lot of emails that way there, and then you can use those to upload them to Facebook and then set up a remarketing campaign to them so that you keep appearing as they're still searching around the web for the product they're after. And what's more, you can set up a custom audience in Facebook where you can get a whole lot of people that have got exactly the same profile as these people here that have been to your website, and then send them to your website. Because if those people click through to start with, other people with the same sort of demographics and general characteristics are probably going to be your likely customers as well. So email address has got a whole lot of uses, and it's central. So if you remember that the key fundamental of your website's only got one job to do. It's not to sell, it's not to brand, it's not to educate, it's not to do any of those things, it's only to get an email address. All of those other things are important, but it should be to get that one central thing, to get the email address. And the goal there is to get 10,000 of them. So a small business, get 10,000 email addresses. Forget about selling, forget about all the other things, just get 10,000 email addresses, and that there is will make a significant difference in a business. Because you imagine Christmas time's coming up, there's a seasonal time of year. If you've got 10,000 email addresses and you've got a whole lot of people with money in their pockets that are ready to buy Christmas presents, do you think that's a good time to send out an email? Absolutely. Do you think it's a good time to do a bit of Facebook or Google advertising? Absolutely. So the only way you can do that is if you've got an email address. And so you've got 10,000 to start with. Once you've got the 10,000, then double it, aim for your 20, then go for 50, then go for 100. And it's actually easier than you think. So it's all about automating the process to do it. And really the process is when people get to your website, they've got no idea who you are. So the first job of the website is for them to get to know who you are, what you do, and whether you're the sort of place that they want to hang out at. Second job is for them to start to develop some sort of a rapport or affinity with you. So how do you develop some of that rapport with them? Well, one good way is a video. Is having video on your site, sort of like a virtual handshake. Another good way is to think about what are the fundamental problems that people have got that brought them to your website in the first place. So what did they search for? What was it they were looking for the answer to? So then that's where your content's really important. So then you write content on your website that can articulate the problem that they've got or the issue that they've got better than they can articulate it themselves. So you want them to sort of feel like you really understand them just from the content. So remember, they don't get to meet you, you don't get to speak with them, you don't have a conversation, your content's got to have that conversation with them. And through that process there, then they get a sense of, hey, look, this is the right place. I really feel like these people here have got the solution because they've been able to explain my situation and give me some solutions far better than I can myself. Does that make sense? So that's where the content's key. But remember, your sole objective is to get the email address. So you're doing this for that one reason, just to get that email address. And what it results in is this thing here, which is a traditional sales thing. That's that's someone who's a prospect. Will they become a lead because they're more engaged? And trust is a sale. That turns into your sale. So that's how that process works. So if you think about, let's say, a sales website, an e-commerce website, what's the likelihood of someone visiting your website and off an ad and spending 10 grand? It's pretty low, isn't it? So, but yet a lot of marketing is set up to go for that big hit. So this e-commerce website that came to us for a review, they wanted to sell their stuff. And so they were making sales in the thousands. So they were expecting to make these sales off a click, from an ad. It was never going to work. So the objective is to think about what can you give them that's valuable for free. So this particular business is a commercial furniture sales website. What sort of questions? So a business or a purchasing manager for a business is wanting to buy, let's say, 100 office chairs for the staff in their building. What sort of questions do you think they've got? Ergonomics, okay, yep. What else? Serviceability, yep. Are they quality? Are they going to last? What's the lifetime? What happens if they break? Yep. What else? Delivery, how quickly can I get them? Yep. What else? Bulk discount, price, all those sort of things there. So if they just land on that one page for these chairs, are they going to get all that information from a e-commerce sales page? Probably not, and certainly not on this side here. So what could you do? What about if you had your e-commerce sort of page with your selection of chairs, but on that page you had something there which is addressed to the purchasing manager, which is, here's a checklist of all the things that you need to consider before committing to buy some chairs. And it's going to talk about ergonomics, price discounts, quality, all that sort of thing. All you have to do, give us your email address, we'll send it to you by email today. What have you now got? An email address. So they still haven't bought because they were never going to buy in the first place, but now you've got an email address and you can do a whole lot of things with it. So you've given them some free quality information which is exactly what they're looking for. Then you can start to sell them something. So then you can progress them through. Don't sell them a $10,000 thing yet. They might not be ready for that yet. Let's sell them something for $10. Up to 100, up to 1,000, you progress them up through to your big ticket item, which is where they've got a lot of trust, and that's the time you're developing a relationship with them. So let's look at how we structure that. So the first thing is to think about your offer. What's your offer? And one thing I would say is on any website, your offer is not a newsletter or subscribe here. How many of those have you seen on websites? Yep. Who's got that on their website right now? Get rid of it. Kill it. People don't sign up for newsletters these days. I mean, you will get some people to sign up, but it's not really that compelling at all. So just get rid of it. So instead, let's think about this. What about a checklist? So what about if you're a a mortgage broker? What do mortgage brokers do? They arrange loans for people to buy houses. What do their ideal clients, what are they looking for? Are they looking for a mortgage? No, they're not. They're looking for a house. So they're not looking for a mortgage, they're looking for a house. The mortgage is just a vehicle to get them the house. So then think about, what can I do to help them buy their ideal home? So what if you provided them with a downloadable checklist which helped them to make a decision between what's important, what are must-haves for them to have in a property, what are nice-to-haves, and what are, it'd be okay to have, but it's not a deal killer. So what are some must-haves? The must-haves might be 4 bedrooms because they've got 3 kids and themselves. Must-have might be single level. Because for some reason they can't get upstairs. So there are some must-haves there, and a lot of people have, when they go hunting for homes, and I know that we've done this, you've got your sort of paper written out with some of your must-haves, or you've just got it all in your head. What if you just provide that in an easy format they can download, and then they're taking that with them every single time to the houses they're looking at on the weekend. And this downloadable checklist also has your logo up on it as well too. So what are they seeing every time they pull it out? Your business. So checklists are good. How-to guides. I'm a big Bunnings person. I build stuff. Not that I'm very good at it, but I build it anyway. And we had to build a fence to keep our chickens in. And I've never built a fence in my life. So what did I do? I went to Bunnings, and Bunnings have these videos on how to sort of put fence poles in so that they actually last and they're not going to fall over. These fence poles, where do you get those from? Bunnings. The fencing wire, where do you get that from? Bunnings. The tools that you need, where do you get that from? Bunnings. So how-to stuff is really good. So think about what's in your business that are how-to guides that only you provide, or it makes sense for them to buy it from you. Guides as well. Videos, video tutorials. So I watched some video tutorials on how to put fence posts in the ground. Sounds easy, but there's a lot more to it, I discovered. I'm glad I watched the video. Mini courses, white papers, a voucher. So with the e-commerce website, how many people have seen, you go to a website, you go to leave, something pops up and says 10% off your first purchase. Anyone seen that? Yeah. So how many people have filled those in? Yep. So some of us have. How many? So when you fill it in, does it matter whether you return to the store or not? No, look, I'll take it anyway. I'm leaving. Let's just do it. What's the website owner now got? Email address. So when you think about checklists too, or stuff that you're providing, think about what is absolutely unique to you and your business that none of your competitors do. So what you want is 3 or 4, so if you've got a checklist of say 11 items, 3 or 4 of those items in the checklist, you want to make sure that none of your competitors offer that. So only you offer it. So humans have got this funny thing where they are completionists, in that if you give someone an incomplete checklist or document, or let's say profile, people feel in there that they've got to fill the whole thing out until it's finished. So what you want is a checklist where they can't complete it if they take it to somebody else, to your competitors. They can only get ticks in all the boxes if they bring it to you. So what happens there? You've given it to them, they're taking it to their competitors, they can't fill it out, they come back to you, you've got all the ticks on the boxes, who are they going to go with? So you know, you've set them up, or you've set yourself up to be the ideal. So even if it's something, so just list down all of the things that you do, and even if it's something basic like, you know, we'll give you a coffee when you come in the door. You know, that's a really small example, but there's a check on the checklist that no one else can check off, for instance. So just think about what are those things that your competitors are not offering that you do offer, and put it in. So we'll talk about some pages as well, and these are the most important pages in your website, and this is where your content is absolutely key. So is any copywriters in the room? Excellent. What's the ideal length of copy for a page on the website? Ideal length, how many words? 2,000? Yeah, all right. 600. So here's the thing that was a standard: 300 words. So often when we send work off to copywriters, they'll come back with 300 words, and they quote on 300 words. So the problem with that is that was actually okay a few years back. You know, that worked. Today, 300 words isn't enough. For 2 reasons. One, it's not good enough for Google, because if everyone's writing 300 words, what distinguishes your website from your competitors? Google's got one word which describes it, and that's relevance. It's looking to serve up the most relevant content for the searches that people are putting into the search engine. If you've got 300 words and your competitor's got 300 words, there's not much distinction there, is there? But if you've got a page that's 2,000 words long versus everybody else's 300, which do you think is probably going to be more relevant? So it's your 2,000 words. So if you're writing to the question, so more is better. And then the other thing about content too is that this is your first time you're ever going to meet the client. Sometimes, otherwise they're never coming back. You want to get the email address, so you want to make sure that your content is not written just for the search engines, but it's for the compelling enough for people that come to your page to say, I want to find out more. I'm going to click on this to download, to get this guide, to get more information. So you're going to get email address. That makes sense? Next most important page is the About Us page. This is the most visited page on most websites. So a lot of people make the mistake of making the About page about them, the business. It should be about the customer. So what is it that you're providing your ideal customers? What solutions you're providing? How do you work with them? Why do you do it? And what are people's experience with you? This is a page to put your testimonials, your case studies into. And if you think this is the only page that someone's going to visit, and the most important page, your About Us, is your most important sales page. It's not about you, but it's about what you do for your customer and about articulating their issues and their problems better than they can themselves. So make sure that your About Us page is no less than 1,000 words long. And also have the other thing too with the About Us page, make sure you got your picture on it, like a headshot on, and a headshot of all of your staff, and a bit of a bio on it as well too. Because remember, this is the only time they're probably going to meet you if they're not going to meet you in person. And when they do meet you in person, you want them to recognise you. Next thing in terms of, is the balance of your content. Content, that should be your Contact Us page. Contact Us page is really important. Again, this is a sales page, so don't just have a contact form on it. Have how you can help people. What areas that, what are people looking for? What are the solutions they're looking for? And then give them options to contact you based on what it is that they're looking for. Put your social media links on your About Us page as well too, yeah.
So you put a tick box?
You can put tick boxes in it. You can put sort of reasonable long copy into it as well too. You can summarise all of your services on the Contact Us page, and have if you want to contact us about this widget or this widget or this widget, click on this button, or if it's this one, and this one, click on this button. So you direct them through to what they're actually looking for and what they want and how they want to contact you. And then your services page, make sure that you don't put all of your services on one page, put them all on separate pages. So every service that you offer should have an individual page dedicated to it of about 1,000 words each, with testimonials on it, case studies in it, solutions you provide, why people buy from you, how they buy from you, how you're different from your competitors, and how you stand out, what your unique position is in the marketplace. If you think you don't have a unique position, just have a think and write down what you think is unique. All the stuff that you'll write down to start with is probably rubbish, but at some point, if you keep writing, you'll actually get some stuff out that is really important and is really unique to you that no one else offers. So just go through that exercise. So key principle here is all of your content, don't charge people for your content. So don't, unless you're a newspaper with a firewall, don't charge. Give away all of your content. And in fact, give away all of your best content. So don't save it. If you've written a book, put your book online and give it all away. Don't put it on as one solid book, but you break your book up into blog posts, content. Give it all away, because that's your best sales tool, because as people read it, then they get to know, like, and trust you. And when they trust you, that's when they're going to start to come and do business with you. Does that make sense? So give away your content, but charge people for implementing it. So some people are DIY people who will never buy your services anyway. Just give them all the information so they can implement it. What happens is sometimes they'll try it, they find it's too hard, and what do? Can you come and do it for us? And other times, people sort of, they look at your content and they say, this person and this business really knows their stuff. Why would I go to someone else who hasn't explained it as clearly as you have? I'm going to go with the best. So I'm just going to go with someone who's just told me how it's done. Yep.
In cyber security, a German client wanted me to set up a German phone number so she'd been completely hacked, destroyed all her bank records, fraud. And so my role is to set up a German phone number so she can get her two-stage verification and wants a full threat actor analysis.
So just from that one thing?
Yeah, well, it was from a Facebook, I know her from Facebook, one of my early Facebook contacts.
Yep.
Her bank book had been, the bank had been hacked. She had to completely destroy her phones, move home, change locks, and open her back to good. I'm setting up a whole.
So content's all, she knows what you do, and you've just given her all the information, more than she actually needs. And so if you do that, overwhelm is better than underwhelm. Always give away your best stuff, because it's good on a whole lot of levels, and people will pay you to do it. Oh, here's the funny thing that happens too. We often get people, we give away heaps of information, lots and lots and lots of it. People that go and DIY stuff, they go and tell their friends that don't want to DIY, go to these people, they know what to do. So they become some of your best referrals and advocates as well too. Okay, if you haven't got it, you need a CRM, which is a customer relationship management tool, so that you can automate your marketing. So don't do all your marketing manually. Automate your marketing so that people hit Facebook, they go to your website, they fill in a form goes to your CRM, that sends out an email delivering the document you've provided, then it sends out a series of emails. You don't want to be doing that sort of stuff manually. But what you don't want to do is automate your sales, personalise your sales. People want to deal with a person. They don't want to deal with an email. So when you're in the sales transaction, do that personally. So spend all of your time in sales, automate most of your marketing. So with a CRM, they've got a whole lot of functions in it, and I can't really go into them in any depth, but they've got lists. So when someone fills out a form and for a downloaded document, they go into a list. So a CRM should generally only have one list, but you should then tag them. So you tag each person. So if you've got a different download on every page on your website for say, different services, each one of those will have a tag that says this is from XYZ page, this is from ABC page, this one's from the contact page, this one's from the home page. So you know where they've come from. You've got rules there, so that we've got ours set up so that if someone's already an existing client, they don't go into the same sequence of emails that go out for people that are brand new prospects. So you want to be able to sort of recognise who people are. So if anyone's an existing client, we just send them on another campaign. Campaigns are basically emails, automated emails that go out and automatic actions that you get people to take. And then there are triggers. How do people get onto these campaigns? What's the trigger? And triggers can be as simple as filling in a form and them submitting it. But triggers can also be they've visited a Facebook page, they've read a Facebook page, they've read a link there. It could be that you've sent them out an email and you've asked them a question in the email. Are you interested in this, or are you interested in that? And each of those are hyperlinks. They can just click on one of those links there, and that'll just automatically trigger a set of actions in your CRM. So you can really personalise it to exactly what it is that they're looking for and the information that they want. So here's an example of an automation. This is really simple. So the very top one there, the yellow box, is the trigger. So this is where they've entered. And when they've entered here, as soon as they've had this tag applied that they've asked for this document, we send a campaign, which is that blue box. That campaign is a series of emails. But what we want them to do is that our goal is we want them to purchase a bunch of chairs. So those office chairs. If they reach that goal of office chairs, then we're going to stop that campaign, and then we're going to wait for a defined period of time, in this case 30 minutes, and then we're going to sort of do something else. So we might send them out a congratulations, you've purchased these, this is your delivery dates, this is how to look after your chairs campaign, and this is how good they are in terms of ergonomics. Your staff are going to thank you. So it's a different campaign. And then you've got sort of yes, no's, and then you've got a time to exit the campaign. So that's a really simple automation which just happens automatically from sending out an email through to them taking action. They've controlled, or you've done nothing with it apart from just send that email out. And you can automate that as well too. So CRMs can be complex and they can be quite simple as well. But at the very least, the best the place to start is just to have a simple download checklist document, add it to a campaign like this with a trigger, just send them out a series of 5 or 6 emails which are not sales emails that just help them to understand further what it is that they need or to help them. That's it. And then a simple call to action at the end of it. So if you want to know more, here's our phone number, give us a call. That's a really simple campaign. So if nothing else, just put that in and then just measure it and see what happens. So yeah, with these campaigns, you can measure things like, well, you can activate it on these triggers on information requests. Someone's requested information, they've opened an email, they've not opened an email. So you can send a different campaign based on someone not opening an email. They've viewed a page on your website, they've put these chairs into their shopping cart, and they haven't actually checked out. So you can do other things with that. They've viewed a video. You've sent them out a poll which they've clicked on. They've liked a page. They've followed you on social media. So all of those things are actions that can be taken in a campaign. So here are some CRMs that you use. So MailChimp, Entreport, Drip, Keep, ActiveCampaign. So they're just a few. My recommendation in terms of the best one is any of them. Just start with one. Doesn't matter which one, just start with one. Web forms, you need to have a web form on your website to capture people's email address. So it can be, a lot of these CRMs will give you a piece of code to embed into your website, and they've got the form in. So all you do is take the code, stick it in your website, and the form's there. You can use plugins, Contact Form 7, which is free. Gravity Forms is the one that I use, which is I've used for years and years and can do all sorts of incredible things, which I'll show you. WP Forms is another plugin. Caldera Forms is another plugin. You can go to the WordPress repository and you can see a whole lot more. But you do need a web form. In terms of fields on your form, if you want lots and lots of leads and email addresses, one field on your form, and that's an email address. You'll get lots of leads. If you want to qualify people and you want quality leads, put in more fields. The more fields you put in, the less leads you'll get, but the more qualified they are. So someone that's prepared to give you their name, first name, last name, and phone number and email address is probably further down the buying cycle than someone who's just going to give you an email. If someone's not prepared to give you their phone number, they don't want you to call them. So they're probably not in a stage where they're ready yet. So you just need to balance up. Do I want sort of, lots of inquiries coming in and then just sort of market to them? Or do I only want quality ones? My recommendation is quantity. Just put an email address and first name. That's it. Just start with that and then measure from there. So here's why I love Gravity Forms, in that to get more information. So let's say you've collected their email address, that's all you've asked for, and now you want their phone number and their first name and last name. So what you can do is Gravity Forms allows you to put a query string in the domain. So the very first part is domain landing. So that's my website domain. Then it's followed by a question mark. Email equals the email address. See what happens when we do that. So that's the form as it is on the website at the moment. But what we've actually done with this form is we've put another field in there which is hidden. So a person goes to the website, can't see that email field. It's hidden. But because we've got a link in there that says email equals email address, that automatically inserts that email address down the bottom that they've already given to us from that first form that they've submitted. So we've got that information in our CRM. So when the email goes out, we can send that link out with that at the end of it. It goes into this box here, which is hidden from them. It already pre-populates it for their email. So when they when you've asked for first name, last name, and phone number, and click update details, they don't see the email address. It's already there. It goes back to your CRM and then just populates those details into your CRM. So how powerful is that? So, and you can do all sorts of things with hidden fields like that. So you're not presenting people with a massive form there with all of their details pre-populated, because sometimes that looks a bit creepy. And you can also get people's details piecemeal. So ask for email address first, ask for their name next, ask for their phone number next. So you might say, look, we've got a document here, we'll SMS it to you. What's your SMS number? So simple as that. So you can start to layer your offers as they get to know, like, and trust you. Here are some other things you can do to collect email addresses. This is one of my favourite. It's called a hello bar, after an organisation called Hello Bar. So that's just an offer that sits at the top of your website, which is persistent. So as they scroll down, that always just sits up at the top of the website. And it might be sort of saying, download your free report on whatever, something, or pizzas. We had a pizza oven place. The lead time to sell a pizza oven is 8 months. So if someone gets to the website, if they're not ready to buy, it won't be till about 8 months, their typical time they're actually going to invest in buying a pizza oven. So the worst thing that these people can send them is information on how to choose a pizza oven. That's rubbish. What do they really want, people? Pizza. Pizza. What sort of pizza? Awesome pizzas. They want the best pizzas. If you're investing in a pizza oven and you invite your friends around, you want an awesome pizza. So what if this pizza oven place was to give away the best pizza recipe in the world for cooking in a pizza oven? Who would download that? It's just a recipe. What are you getting? An email address. So just think about a little bit laterally about how you get these email addresses. Give people what they want, not what you think they need or what you think they want. Actually give them what they want. So a hello bar is a good way to do it. This is another hello bar down the bottom as well. You can test which one of these is going to work better for you, or you can have something in the sidebar of your website, and you can have something like that, follow them down the website as well too. But look, don't be over the top with it. You don't want to really annoy them. It still needs to be subtle enough without being in their face. And you can achieve some of these, those hello bars and whatever by writing a bit of code, for those of you that are coders. For those that are not, I'm a coder and I still prefer not to code it, then you can use, these days, a whole lot of page builders. So you've got Beaver Builder, Elementor, Divi, Oxygen, there's a whole lot of them. You can do all of that sort of stuff with a page builder. You don't need any code skills at all. So anyone can do it. So there's no excuse. Pop-ups, they are your friend. Google will tell you that they're not. They are your friend. In fact, it's interesting because people say, well, Google hates pop-ups, but they don't really. What they hate is providing people with a bad user experience. So pop-ups that come up on their mobile phone that you can't get rid of. Anyone experience those? Just annoying stuff. It's like you haven't even got into the content yet. You don't know whether it's any good or not, and there's a pop-up that you can't get rid of. I'm leaving. So make sure that you're thinking about users' experience, what's good for them. That's what Google's after. So it's not that they hate it. So here's an example of a pop-up. This is someone that's leaving a page and they're going up to click the back button and this pop-up comes up and says, ouch, you're leaving us. How about this? Okay, so this is your last chance. So they're really good pop-ups. If I was to recommend a good option to collect emails, this one here is one of the best. And so there are different types of pop-ups. You can have time delay, so you get onto a page and after about sort of 5, 8, 10 seconds, then the pop-up comes after hopefully people have had a bit of time to read your information to see whether it's worth it. Other ones are scroll pop-ups. They get 3/4 of the way down the page before the pop-up comes up. They can be fly-in pop-ups which come in from the side and just sort of sit unobtrusively here, so that it's not actually covering the content. They can be exit intent pop-ups, which is that one there where they're leaving the page and you present your final offer. Hey, you're going, why don't you grab this here? My favourite is the exit intent. And then there's also the link click. So you've got links on your website and the link might say, download this guide or download this, the best pizza recipe in the world. They click on that, up it comes and you deliver it. So just my favourite one is Pop-Up Maker. So if you go to the WordPress repository, there it is. They've got a pro version as well. Offer competitions and incentives. This is an insanely good way. This is a form which you can put on a landing page which will encourage people that land there to share your stuff on social media to everyone. And what you do is you do it in the form of a competition. So give away a free holiday to Bali. You know, who wouldn't want a holiday to Bali? Well, probably some people might not, but give away a holiday to somewhere really compelling and interesting. Won't cost you a lot of money, and there are organisations out there where you can pay $100 a month and you can have these competition draws giving away a $5,000 holiday. So the way this works is this is a plugin. This is a WordPress plugin. So you can get this. And so what people do is they sign up to it with their email address or just log in with Facebook. And when they've logged in with Facebook or they've signed up, that's their first entry into the draw. Then they've got on that right-hand side, they've got visit your Facebook page. So you put in your Facebook page, so they just click on that, go and visit the Facebook page. As soon as they've done it, it registers here they're visited, they get second entry into the draw. And then it redirects them back here and says follow us on Twitter, third entry. Visit your YouTube channel, there's the fourth one. Join our email newsletter, refer a friend, watch a video, tweet a message, complete a poll or a survey. All of those are entries into this draw. So people can get 10, 11, 12, 13 entries into this draw, and just by sharing it out. What are you getting? Email addresses, lots of them, because now other people are coming back and doing the same thing. They're presented with the same offer, and they go off and do this same sort of thing. So you often see this with launch sequences for new products, for especially in the internet marketing space for information. But standard businesses, bricks and mortar businesses, can use this, and this is a really, really quick way to grow your list really fast. But the key to it is you've got to have a good prize, so something that people want. So if you happen to own a pizza oven manufacturing place, don't give away a pizza oven, give away a holiday. So give away something that people will not say no to, that they want. Does that make sense? Okay. There's the, if you want to see how it works, that's the address to go and see how that giveaway thing works. And you can buy it there too. If this was an affiliate link and you clicked on it, I'd get paid, but I don't think we can do that. And the last one is surveys and quizzes. So one thing is a rating and score. Let's say you're a mortgage broker and say, let's rate your financial literacy compared to the rest of the population. Ask a series of questions. At the end of it, they get a score. But before they get the score, you ask for their email address to send them their score and their email. So ratings and scoring is good. And position. What's your position on let's say, Brexit? Brexit's good for Australia. Do you agree? Yes or no? So there's a good poll. Well, it's a yes/no one. You can have options. Are you a person that likes red? Are you a person that likes blue? So those are two poll options as well too. So again, you collect email addresses with that. So all of this is all about one thing for your website, and so one purpose for your website, which is, you should know by now, the one purpose is to get an email address. So that's your sole purpose for the website. That's how you build your list. That's how you get to 1,000 customers, because you can't get 1,000 customers unless you've got 10,000 emails, and then you can start doing your marketing and delivering your message. Remember that when you're paying for traffic through Google Ads or for Facebook, you are paying for one visit to your website. You want to make sure that visit counts. So if they don't buy your product, you want to make sure you've got something from them so you can keep communicating to them, either through Facebook or through email, and that's getting the email address into your CRM. So just to summarise, website purpose, get the email address. You need to have think of an offer. So if you haven't done this now, or you've already got it, just start thinking about it again. What is it? What is your offer? Get a CRM. Go and do that tonight. Have a web form or process of putting web forms on your website so you can send the information to your CRM. You can use a hello bar, top, bottom or side. Use pop-ups, particularly exit pops. Use competitions like Raffle Press, and use surveys because people enjoy the gamification and interacting with it and seeing where they are in position with other people. So that's all I have for you. That's how to grow your first 1,000 customers. When you've got it, email me, let me know, and that it's all worked. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick. Great session. Thank you very much. We've got probably time for just one or two quick questions. Has anyone got questions they'd like to ask of Nick? Hang on, I'll grab your microphone.
Up the middle here.
Oh, just here?
Just had a quick question about that CRM that captures the email in the URL. Is it all of them that do that, or a particular one?
It's actually Gravity Forms that does it. So it's the plugin Gravity Forms, which will allow you to append that string to a URL. And so you can put that in your CRM. So when someone submits their details, all you have is a dynamic field that just populates it with their email address. So when it gets sent out, they go to your page with the Gravity Forms on it, and that all the magic just automatically happens on your web page. So any CRM you'll be able to do it with.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. Just up the middle here, Pete.
Hi, thank you. That was really great, by the way. Quick question. Do you have an opinion about the actual format of newsletters? So I've seen a trend where a lot of people are now switching to text only in their newsletters instead of having beautiful images and that sort of thing. Do you think that that improves people, like the click-through rates and that sort of thing?
Yeah, look, it sort of depends, and you have to test it to see what works. The way that we do our newsletters, and we do it with our clients, is that we do newsletters without writing a single word. So, and if you go to WordPress TV, I did a presentation on it back in Wordcamp some eons ago, but it's still a process we work today, and all we do is we find really good content around the web that we would read that thinks really good, and we put a snippet of it in the as a blog post on our website. And then our newsletter software then just automatically extracts out all of the posts. For us, it's every week. For some of our clients, it's every month. Just puts it into curated format and sends it out. So it's really just text and a small featured image. It's enough there for them to think, yeah, look, I'm interested in that. And they click through, and then they go and read the article. So they're not clicking through your website. They're clicking through to where the source of the article is. But that doesn't matter. The fact is you sent them the newsletter, so that gets your brand in front of their face all the time. So, yeah. But just test it anyway.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. So that's probably what we've got time for. We've got a panel that's setting up here. Nick will be at the after party tonight.
I will.
If the after party's a bit slow, he's going to organise a bus trip to Bunnings whereby you can buy all the bits to make a pizza oven. So watch out for that. When the drinks are a bit slow, talk to Nick. So just give us a couple of minutes. We're going to have a set up here for a panel, which will be sort of 5 minutes or so, and we'll get going with that.
1, 2. Hello. Welcome to our final panel of our first panel of Wordcamp Sydney 2019 and our final session for the day. This is going to be about business ops, aka operations. This is Bree and Ben and Sean. Could you guys give us like a really quick intro to your experience with WordPress and/or business ops?
Hi, my name's Sean. I've been using WordPress on and off since about 2003, but I run an agency in Singapore for the last 10 years.
Ben, I run the Code Company. We're a technical agency, so we do a lot of engineering with WordPress, and our world is heavily in digital publishing and all the performance and scale and stuff that comes with doing big, complex WordPress things.
Hey, I'm Bree. I have a social media company called Pink Cow Social. Haven't had too much experience with WordPress, so don't judge, I'm just being honest. But yeah, hoping to assist with social media or other business operational questions.
Awesome, thank you. All right, we have a few questions to kick us off, and then we'll hand it over to the audience. So the first one is it bad to charge by the hour?
Yes. It sort of really depends on what you're charging by the hour as well. And if you're charging your time or your staff's time as well. So if you were charging, say, something at $200 an hour and you're paying your staff maybe $10 an hour, $15, $20 an hour, then it's not necessarily as bad because you're still maximizing that. If you're talking about a project over the course of 2 to 3 months, then yeah, charging by the hour would be terrible for that. Unless you had a specific scope in mind. Day rates would be better, but value proposition or value-based pricing would be ideal.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm guessing that's like a veiled dig at value pricing, or what they're really asking about. We typically don't value price outright. Because we don't work in big projects one at a time. Our engagements are months becoming years, years and years and years. So because part of the way we work with people is essentially replacing the need to hire, so there's always going to have to be some kind of discussion around effort and what we're replacing. Like, we can't just sort of anonymously give a random number and base it off value. So you can value price like an hourly rate if you're doing something of really high impact that you're very specialized in, gives you the opportunity to value price that service potentially versus something that may be more rudimentary and other people could do maybe lower rate to be more competitive. So we sort of play around with that sometimes. But we might be doing a project that lasts like 9 months with like 4 or 5 people working on it, and it still comes back to hour. We normally jump to day or weeks at that point, but it's still time measurements. So we sort of play around with a bit of both. But that's, yeah, I don't think it's bad to.
Thank you. Next one. I'm going to do the next 2 questions kind of together, and you can interpret whether they're related or not. I felt like they were related, but we'll see. So we've got, if your client base suddenly tripled overnight, what do you do? And we've also got, I have too much work to do by myself, what should I do? So, I mean, there might be slightly different problems at play here, but the issue is a lot of work.
I'll take one for the team on this one. Well, if my client base tripled overnight, I'd probably be like, what is happening? I'd be in massive shock, but obviously very excited. But in answering about what you should do, I'm kind of at that stage in my business now where I've actually had to outsource. So I've actually brought in a VA and they're doing some work for me, and that has had its benefits as well as some negatives. So working through that process has been a really interesting thing to do. I think what's really important when you find that you have too much work for yourself is actually going through that process of actually focusing on what you're really good at and then outsourcing what you're not. So for instance, I specialise in social media. I have no idea about graphic design, so I'm not going to spend the time to upskill my services on graphic design when I could give it to somebody else and compromise kind of my clients when it comes to social media. I'd prefer to be, I suppose, a fantastic person and a leader in one field and outsource somewhere else. So for me, that's my approach. And I found that it's a lot better because if you try to offer so many different services, you kind of end up like over-promising and under-delivering. And I think particularly for small businesses, that's something that you just don't want to do. I think that's where you kind of lose clients. So if my client base was to triple, I would definitely be obviously I go through a vetting process with my clients at the moment. So I kind of speak to them, make sure that we're kind of going to be a good fit. Because I think, you need to love your job and enjoy what you're doing. We've all had those clients where they haven't made you love your job. So I think that that's really important to go through a process. And then I think just admitting that you're not a superwoman or Batman and you can't do everything. And I think then just picking what you're not good at and outsourcing is key. That's how I do it in my business. So.
I think if you tripled overnight, you could probably triple your rates and lose 2/3 of those clients, and then be working the same amount at a better rate if that's exactly what happened, but not that it ever would. We're about 12 to 15 full-time people, and our model has not really been to outsource so much because we often, again, work long periods of time with people. We want clients to have relationships with our team, and we want them to remember what's going on and sort of outlive the client often, or people who work at the client's businesses more often than not. So we've been, in the last couple of years, working a lot on process and how we sort of go through problem-solving process and things like that. One of the things is we've sort of moved further up market on larger and larger projects, both in terms of the organizations we work with and the budgets we work with, but is going through audited processes of ISO certification and things like that, which is all around how do we minimize risk when taking lots of money off people and not bodging a project. Like, if you followed the Queensland Health IT project, I think they've been trying to rebuild their payroll system for like a decade, and they spent like $10 million when it was meant to cost $500,000 or something like that. So they're the kinds of problems that happen in large software projects. So we've tried to minimize our risk around that. So if we do have to grow quickly, because we have caught that before where we've grown, and I think we doubled in 1 year from 6 to 12 people, and it took about 2 years to correct that just from the rapid growth and then having to sort of organise everything in that time. So we're trying to be more prepared for the next time that happens. We can come out of it a bit better than we did last time. So.
Yeah, as long as the systems and the processes that you have put in place are actually in place, then you can just hire to fill in that gap, right? So if you do get another 300 or 400 customers, obviously you'd have a workflow problem, but you wouldn't necessarily have a staff training issue. So you could just you could hire to fill that specific need. And if you have all your documentation and your processes all ready to go, then those people can fit in relatively quickly. There'll obviously be a little bit of onboarding to go, but yeah, as long as systems and processes are all documented.
Nice, thank you, good tips. All right, what are your tips for starting out as a freelancer and gaining clients? And where do you find the clients that need you?
So I live in Hervey Bay, which is in the middle of nowhere in Queensland, a town full of retirees. And our work is all in Sydney CBD and Melbourne CBD with some really big stock publicly traded companies doing huge stuff, which every once in a while I'll step back and think how crazy that is, that I can go to work in shorts and thongs and work, and as long as I have a presentable shirt on, I can still video conference with clients in, and they don't know that I'm a beach bum during the day or look like I'm unemployed. And for me, it was networking at different events and sort of always, I guess, having the integrity. When we talk to people, we never overpromise stuff. We never tried to over-deliver or anything like that. And it just was really a snowball effect for us so that we were able to build the business we have now from the middle of nowhere. Our whole team -1 is in Queensland, and all our clients are pretty much, most are in Sydney and Melbourne. So we've really managed to make that work. But it's just been so much word of mouth, and we're now at the position where we've got a lot of really good work on the books. We can start going and being a bit more ambitious and trying to. So yeah, when I first started out, I worked by myself for about 3 to 5 years until I hired that first employee. And I was telling someone today how nerve-wracking that was, that first hire for months, how terrifying the payroll of one person every week was. And now we have 15 people on payroll, and I don't even think about it. It just happens automatically without me at all now. So, it's definitely taken a long time to get to that point. But it was just slowly building and not trying to build too fast or too quickly and potentially blowing it all up. So that was my story.
I think for me, it's been very much about relationships, and I'm very big on relational, building. And if you come to the social media engagement talk tomorrow, you'll find out why. But I think also being really active in groups. The only reason why I still have a personal Facebook is because I am really active on groups, and I like to be part of, conversations and help people where I can, and I think that's a really big thing. And things like volunteering and networking opportunities have been really successful for me as a freelancer, just to meet new people. So if you can, get out and do that.
Yeah, for me, it's a while ago now since I started the business, but we started off with just kind of friends and family. So I moved back to Singapore after being here for 10 years, worked for a wine company that failed after 3 months. So that was a bit of a disaster. So I started this business, did a couple of band websites, and then from there, just kind of friends and friends and friends. I actually was lucky enough to land a consultancy client, which kind of gave me a bit of a buffer to kind of grow and build that business. So I did it for 5 years by myself. And then, hired people kind of about 5 years ago as well. So finding a niche, I think, is really important as well. If you're looking at targeting and finding people, if you know their pain points, then you can kind of speak directly to them.
I also ignored a lot of rules that experts give you, or people who proclaim to be very well read on things. People say don't do free work or things like that. I was always very strategic. We work with through family connections, like the local seafood festival, but I knew they were well connected with the Queensland industry body that ran that, and that was a foot in that door, which became a foot in another door, which became, we were doing 7 different peak bodies of Queensland, primary industries and chickens and all kinds of things. And it all came from doing some volunteer work and sort of doing a freebie for an event and things like that. So, we gave away stuff here and there, or strategically would offer to help someone for free, knowing that person actually sits at this company and that's actually where we want to work. So this is a sort of clever way of creating a connection, showing we know what we're doing, and building that kind of trust that we could probably, and sometimes it didn't work, but a lot of the time it was quite advantageous. So.
Cool, nice. That's all of the pre-questions. Have we got any questions from the audience? Just stick your hand up really high if you do.
Hi, thank you. I just wondered if you offer productized services, or if they're all bespoke, and what your tech is on both, or if you do a mixture of both.
I did for the first. Sorry.
What was the? Go closer to your mouth.
I wondered if you offer productized services or done-for-you services versus bespoke or tailored services. Or if you've got a mix of both, what your tech is on them.
So for the first 5 years, I did everything custom. And the last 5 years, we haven't productized our, service as much as more of our internal process. So we still deliver a custom solution, but internally, everything's very productized, so everyone knows their specific roles. So we typically roll out the same type of product. And we have, got on some other maintenance services, SEO services and things like that on top of it, which we didn't do before. So the actual website is custom to the client's requirements, but the build process itself is pretty productized.
Back in the day, we started, everyone, doing hosting and domains and email and newsletters and all that sort of stuff. And that world's become a lot more complicated, and marketing and stuff I'm not passionate about, so we don't do that anymore. So that was, the closest thing we ever did to product work. We work with a lot of clients who do product work, and I never get I'm never envious of their world, so I've never really had the appetite to sort of wet our beak in the product world as well. A lot of agencies will build their own product management tool and then sell that or whatever else. So I've managed to resist that temptation. So everything for us is purely, it's like working with a law firm or an accountancy. Some people may have us on a retainer of some degree, because everything's so different for every project and client and everything like that. So it's all very bespoke in that sense, but we've never packaged. I think if we did go down that productizing our services, the obvious things for us would be discovery workshops, or how do you plan stuff. We have a lot of similar work where someone will come in and, ad tech for publishers, there's a lot of nuanced problems, and they all face the same things, from viewability to performance to mobile. That's something that we could look at doing one day as here's a 2-day workshop. We come in, we do, and we can productize that knowledge, because we've sort of developed over those years and done it before. So we've just never had a quiet day to put those things together. But that's the closest thing I would think for our business where that would work. But there's still definitely some knowledge in what we've done, and probably is quite strategic in that it would often lead to professional services later on. Often, if you train someone or teach someone, then they're like, okay, well, can you just do it now? So that's probably something that I should do one day or put our mind to, but yeah.
And for me, I do a little bit of both. So I have some social media packages, obviously, because some clients just kind of know what they want and they're like, yep, your packages work for me. If they don't, because they can, because I am still growing and I've got a small team, I'm able to go, no problems, we can kind of customise that for you. Because I think if a client comes to you, one small business to another, you don't really want to turn them away. And if you get on really well with them and you have that, they kind of pass that vetting process, provided that we can kind of get on the same page and it's not too far from the price of the other packages, I'm more than happy to customise something. And especially for copywriting, I think if sometimes you have set prices, it can just totally scare people away. So that's my experience with it.
Thank you. We've got one more here.
Thanks for your insights already. I was just wondering how WordPress has underpinned your current success, and where do you see the future of WordPress within your businesses?
So WordPress, in terms of me and success, can't really answer, and I'm not really sure where I see it happening in my business, to be honest. I prefer to give you an honest answer. In terms of my business, I haven't used it, but I know from the people that I do deal with, if I'm ever getting websites done, that's a prominent platform that they use. So I see it definitely being a strong platform in the future. So it's a very political answer, wasn't it?
I've used it, like I said, so I used it very early days before it was WordPress and it was Cafe Log and all of those types of things. So I came back to it in 2009. Once I started this business, I tried Expression Engine and a whole bunch of others along the way. So all we do now is WordPress and we promote ourselves that way, a trademark aside. So yeah, that's all we do. And kind of the future for us is to kind of move a little bit away from third-party add-ons like Beaver Builder and Elementor, and to go back to building things in Gutenberg. There's a lot going to be happening in this space in the next probably 2 years about expanding it into a full website builder, mainly for WordPress.com, but also will funnel down to WordPress.org. So about kind of having that JavaScript experience to be building those custom solutions in Gutenberg is kind of the way I see it going forward.
And I started building stuff in like CGI and Perl, and then moved into PHP, and then moved into CodeIgniter. And then this is sort of at the point WordPress was starting to become useful and actually could do more than just blogging kind of thing. So about the 3.0 release, I think it was, when it started sort of gaining some maturity. And I work with a freelancer who did some stuff for me once in a while. He was playing with WordPress, and that's where I started getting around it and understanding hooks and filters and things. And we sort of made our sort of entry into this sort of from the performance and scaling perspective. So we work with as a sports publisher in Newcastle, and every Melbourne Cup that have, like 1 million page views in an afternoon, and like sort of figuring out the performance around that. So that's what sort of got us started in WordPress, and realized there's a real opportunity for people like us who are more, our team are pretty much all trained in other programming languages, then come into WordPress. So we've got a different style, I guess, than a lot of people who learn WordPress straight off from no coding experience before, and a bit of DevOps background as well. So it's been really nice from the performance and scaling stuff. Before WP Engine existed, or Pantheon or anyone else existed, that we were sort of doing that stuff with servers and things like that. And that sort of just evolved into publishing. So we're still banking on WordPress in the publishing perspective. There's a lot of politics in which way WordPress will go, what the product and what the vision and what automatic and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of that, so we sort of probably sit that out and just sort of observe and keep an eye on where things are going. There's nothing that I don't think in WordPress's consumer rise affects what we're doing with publishers. So I haven't had any inkling to think that we need to change ships. But when we rebranded like 5 years ago, one of the things was we don't want to be like WP agency or the code WP. We've got enough autonomy in our brand and our identity that we could apply the same sort of, because at the end of the day, what we sell is critical thinking. So we could do that with any other tool if we wanted to. If we wanted to switch teams to Drupal or Laravel or whatever else, we could do that. But I still see a lot of hope in how WordPress is working, what adoption, the people we work with, like clients enjoy using it. It's really extendable, flexible, so it ticks all the boxes from us. There's not like some big feature that I really wish we didn't, that it had, that it doesn't, things like that. So for us, it's still, that's where we're going, and that's what we're sort of hanging our hat on for now. So.
We have one question right up the back here.
Thanks for your views. Question I have is, while I've got you here, if you wanted to outsource, I know you've already given a little bit of a view about this, but if you wanted to outsource, where would you look? Who would you use?
Again, just being completely honest, I went to a conference back in August and I'd heard of a few different companies. I met with the sales director of a company called the Virtual Hub. So again, for what I have given my VA, it's just very much a lot of designing. Like, I still very much keep the copywriting because I have a very certain style of writing which I know people like. So I've kind of given him the fun things, like all the design things that I actually really loved, but I just didn't have time to do all of that. So I very much sat with them and said, look, these are the tasks that I want the VA to do. These are the hours that I want them to do. As I said, I'm still client-facing, so they don't deal with any clients. They just do a lot of the, like uploading images and things like that. So I went through a very strict process, and I must give credit where credit's due. I know that we had Rosie talk about outsourcing, and she was fantastic, and everyone has their own opinion, but I must give them credit. They go through a very thorough process of appointing you. Like, I had the interviews with the VAs that they had put forward. The VAs had gone under 6 weeks of training. So I must say that for a company that actually does offer that, they're very, stringent on their processes. They have to pass certain literacy tests and, So they've been great for me, and there have been a few teething issues in terms of understanding some programs, but very early on they say to you, what programs will you want your VA to use? I told them, and if they weren't trained in them, they either could be trained in them, or I would send through an educational video on how I wanted them to learn. So for me, that's worked for me, and in 2020 I'll probably bring another one on, maybe for half the time, just to kind of see how that goes. But I think the biggest thing for me with outsourcing with the VA was just communication, finding a communication platform. He really likes audio, so if we don't talk through Google Hangouts or something like that, I'll record a message and send it to him. So, yeah.
I started with a VA through an agency called Outsourcing Angel probably about 4 years ago now. And I used them for 2 to 3 years, and then sort of grew the team a little bit. So there's 6 now. So I'm in Singapore running that agency. I've got offshore designer, offshore 3 developers, and then I've got some content writers and things like that. Content writers are basically small businesses that offer those services. We kind of have contra deals and things in place. They don't want to do the web. And so we refer that way. So I've got some people down here in Aussie that do that. In terms of finding people, I found my first dev who's been with me 4 years on Upwork. I did a pretty rigorous test. Hired about 6 people to produce a one-page website, essentially, with a JPEG. Paid them for their time, and then hired the right one. And then over the course of time, I've hired more. Through Upwork, I found a whole bunch through LinkedIn, Hubstaff. There's lots of platforms. Some people on Slack channels as well. Lots of places.
I don't have a VA, I just ignore all my stuff on Slack until they ping me enough. But I've never wanted to build a business built on outsourcing. I think part of that is I've always wanted to hire someone who's better at me at something, whatever that skill we're out to hire is. So I should be the dumbest person in the room when we're with our team. And that also goes to the sort of engagements again that we have, that no client ever comes to us and say, we want to actually build this, this, and this. They'll more likely come with a problem. And any time we've ever had to do some outsourcing, it's rarely worked in our favor, or it's sort of maybe got us over the line, but we've had to then deal with it for years after and had to go back and clean it up and on our own dime. So very rarely, like maybe once a year, we might have to get some extra front-end dev help or something like that. We've worked with RT Camp, who are a VIP partner, but they're $80 to $100 an hour US in terms of billing, so it's not a cost-cutting measure, and often with the US dollar it ends up making no money at all. But sometimes if we want a really high bar of we just need something dependable, to agency kind of model, because otherwise every time we've ever done outsourcing, unless you have to then spend your entire time sort of documenting exactly what needs to be done to like the T. There can be no interpretation, whereas I like to think all our team are smart enough that they can read through the ambiguity and say, okay, well actually this doesn't make sense, you're contradicting yourself in your requirements, let's talk about it, rather than someone who's following a brief, code something that doesn't work or like overwrite, and you're like, well, why did you? And like, critical thinking is really important to us. So critically thinking about a problem. So we've been, and I mean, technically we are outsourcing because somewhere like regional Queensland is much easier to hire than if I'd been based in Sydney, trying to compete with big banks and startups and Google and whatnot. So I guess I've been advantageous in that respect, that we've been able to sort of find good talent over time and throughout Queensland and regional places. So that's worked, and we've in our 8 or 9 years, we've never had anyone resign. We've sort of, everything continued to grow. So I like to think we've sort of balanced that out pretty well in getting a good work balance and all that sort of thing.
Thank you. We have time for one last question, so we're going to take that up here. If you have a question, please write it down, and hopefully we can discuss it tonight or tomorrow. Yeah.
Hi, I was wondering what is the percentage of your revenue coming from recurring business instead of just like a one-off, and if you have like any retainers, and what kind of product or services do you offer on retainers, and how much, I guess, having that ongoing stream of money coming in helped you growing your business?
For me, so we offer maintenance plans. So there's 3 tiers of maintenance plans. We'll do SEO, we'll do content writing, and a few other marketing services, AdWords and Facebook ads as well. For the first probably 7 or 8 years of the business, we did none of that. So I pretty much wanted to build a website and see you later. I didn't really want any of that, which was pretty silly. But yeah, I just really wanted to build the project, move on to the next one, build the project, move on to the next one. So yeah, about 3 years ago, we just introduced it. We have 100 clients on maintenance packages on various tiers. So most of those packages essentially pay staff's wages at the moment. So because of the nature of the business, peaks and troughs and things, so we can keep that consistency of recurring revenue through. So there's not as much stress to make sure that we have to go out and sell packages and sell new websites every month. So that recurring revenue essentially takes care of salaries for the 6 staff members.
That's how we, that helped us in our growth when we started hiring, was like that hosting revenue. We've since got rid of it all because it's a whole different world we don't want to be involved with, but that was that recurring kind of revenue that sort of gave me a little bit more confidence in terms of the professional services. But for us, we're like all 100% professional services now. And I think like this year we may have like picked up 1, 2, maybe 3 clients. Like we don't have a lot of new clients come on because we have all our existing ones constantly having stuff done. We kind of replace the need sometimes for an internal team. So business may need 3 to 4 days a week worth of stuff, but they don't want to pay a 6-figure salary for an engineer in Sydney and have the risk that they just walk out and have no recourse. So we sort of sit in that sweet spot. So all of our work is recurring. Like very rarely we'll do like a standalone project, just ship it and then it's their problem. We're normally engaged in some capacity, sometimes like caretaker, sometimes day-to-day active like patching WordPress and security releases, and every time there's a DDoS or a botnet attack, that's every week at the moment, like keeping it on those kinds of things and letting them do their work. So ours is heavily recurring and sort of, it's somewhat forecastable, and then there's always projects within that. So we might have a basic kind of retainer, and then we might also have a project stacked on top of that, that we have to build something else. So that's sort of, yeah, when I look back, I think last year we got 1 client for the whole year, but if that was any other business, you'd be terrified, but we were actually packed all year, so it was actually quite fine for us.
So I'll keep it really short because I know you'll probably want to go to the after party. So for me, being a small business, I'm just kind of focused on obviously income and expenditure. And so very much so, whilst it's not retainers, obviously I charge a weekly package for my social media. So I know kind of the guaranteed amount that is coming in each week off that. And so then anything else that kind of comes in off, I suppose, bespoke or customized packages is kind of like fantastic. But all of the money that I have from clients is well and truly obviously paying the bills and allowing for me to pay my outsourcing and things like that. So whilst I don't know the exact percentages, and whether you want to call the weekly thing a retainer or not, that's kind of how I work. So I have set social media package prices, and then obviously if people want to customise things, they do that. But yeah, I just always make sure that the income's greater than the expenditure. So it's worked for me so far, so that's my simple formula.
All right, can I get a hand for the panel? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Just give me 1 second to switch over slides and we'll take off mics and stuff.